Goodness gracious. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been one of those days. Very busy. It's very warm, extremely warm. See how red my face is? It's really hot outside, and I still have some things that I need to be doing, which is fine. We'll get there in the end. And I have a dog that just wants to insist on barking at a cat. And I can't go and shut the door now because I've started. He was meant to be staying in here with me. But anyway, Oreo's being a dog as a dog does. And I'm Ros Boundy bringing you the Boomer Press Book Nook session that happens on a technically Monday and a Thursday afternoon at this time. I did miss out on Monday because I had an appointment that ran overtime and totally missed it. And that almost happened again today, I can tell you. It's been busy. But we're here. We are here. And I think going from my documentation that I have, it was episode 9 that we're up to, I think. So let's just hop across to the screen that has the table as its view. There we go, you can see it here. So I'm going to swap them around because the thing is I haven't actually set out the cards yet. And what I'm wanting to do is still continue with the theme of start writing your story by whatever means and put it down on paper. Or if you like to do the keyboard trick, you can certainly do that. Open up a word processor or something like that you can actually use as your repository of your thoughts and the questions that you want to ask. I am just going to shut the door and Oreo! Tom, there you go. Very good to use bribery and corruption with a dog. He got a treat to come down here and stop them barking. Anyway, here we are with our life story. Now, I am pretty certain that I haven't shared the link for this to my Facebook page. I'm just going to pop across and see if I can do that to my Ros Boundy page profile. I actually don't know how to do some of this stuff when it's in motion already, and I don't think I can because I'm here as 5 foot rope. I'll be sharing it later afterwards. Many of you may be watching this as the replay, and apologies for that. I didn't have time to properly prepare the links this way. I just jumped in on the event, so I'll share it from the event into the page, all that sort of stuff. We're here with our life story interview kit. We've been using this since I started doing these live streams into 5 Foot Rope TV. I think I started using this in the first one. Anyway, it's a great little kit. It is the tool for capturing memories and using questions. So it creates a life story. Here we are. We've got the cards. In the end, will all become stories. I love that little saying since I actually saw it. I didn't see it when I first opened the box, which is very interesting as well. Sometimes we have so much focus on what we're doing that we don't always catch those little nuances. So with this, these are the 3 types of cards that we're using because they're in categories. So we're looking at our early life first. Then we're looking at our midlife second, and then we choose the top card from the later life and reflection that we'll just put here because that's where the room space is for the questions to lay, and it sort of looks all right. So we've been through this many already now, so I'm just going to put that to the side like this and leave that there. So what we've got with our question today from our early life, it's going to be describe your favourite family holidays. Gee, describe. Now, for me, it depends the context of early life. So I can remember when we... What are you doing? Anyway, the dog's sniffing under the table. I can remember some of the family holidays we had, and the favourite family holidays, we didn't have many, purely because we were farmers. Mum and Dad were on a farm, which meant we kids were on a farm, which meant there was always different chores to do and things that had to be done. And it was virtually in those days where it was not as easy to hire people to help you, because of the way that farming is that variable of income, that is, you're really doing well or you're in a drought and it's doing poorly, that you sort of didn't really have those times where you could always go away for holidays, and more especially if you were dairy farmers. Now, the first time I remember going on holidays, we had already moved to Meningie. So that meant definitely, I think we had odd times where we were able to have a labourer help out with very busy times, but I cannot remember having one all the time. And we were able to hire someone, and this was while we were dairying. So there was a week or 2 weeks that we could have someone staying and doing the things on the farm, so that as a family we went back over to Stansbury, because hometown area was York Peninsula, so we were central York Peninsula around Minlaton. So from there was our family, and I'm pretty sure there were some family that joined us from the Meningie area. We travelled dual over there, because the Coxes were, they had grown up. I can't quite remember the story, but it certainly is the friendship that we'd made at Meningie. One of the wives, or a couple of the wives, had been raised and brought up on York Peninsula as well and knew the area, so we decided to do a combined family holiday with them, and that was at Stansbury. So was it my favourite holiday? I really enjoyed it because I can remember us being able to swim at the beach, and with the Stansbury side of the York Peninsula, the tide when it went out a long way, so you had a long way that you had to walk if you wanted to swim when it was low tide. So we'd be just playing in the sand, the damp sand, and making sandcastles and stuff like that. And it was the worst case ever that I'd had of sunburn, because I just forgot to go back in when it got too hot. I was so engrossed in what I was doing, and I know that this happened because once those burnt patches of the skin started to bubble and blister, it was agony. I couldn't lay on my back to sleep, and they were horrendously burnt. It wasn't very much fun at all. And this was the days where sunscreen wasn't the application rate that we put on kids now, and it wasn't what products we've got now. I think there was probably some zinc for your nose, tips of your ears, and that type of thing, zinc cream. And there was some other gooey stuff that felt like a plastic on your skin. I hated it. That was the type of thing that you had, and you didn't really reapply very often. It's just one of those things. So that was a really fun family holiday. And then there was another time where the same family joined with us, and we holidayed at Victor Harbour. And I think that was a week of staying in a house, sharing a holiday house together and doing lots of fun things. That was really good. And I ended up living in this area. It's not far away from where I'm living now. So that was that wonderful experience. So what is your favourite family holiday? Describe it in whatever way you need to. The next one we're looking at is our midlife. Where did you live once you left your childhood home? So think through that. what was the experience like? If it's something that's going to be part of the trend that you're wanting to follow through with your memoir, put down all sorts of details and how you felt at the time as well. What sort of things may have been your trigger that you left your childhood home? That type of thing. Were you pushed out from eager parents wanting you to live your own life? Did you want to move away because you wanted to live your own life? So many different ways that we can actually leave that family nest, so to speak. So where I lived, the first place after leaving the childhood home, well, the family home, I was probably still a child, I suppose, but I was married and we lived out on the Coorong in our in-laws' home there whilst they moved up to Adelaide to a unit that they'd purchased there and were living in Adelaide. They'd bought that unit for their kids to do, for the daughter to do high school and university, because that wasn't an option at Menindee at the time. You did have to do your matriculation or whatever it was called back then, leaving or something. So that's the process of how that worked out. So I actually did live along the Coorong in their home with my husband. That was for about 2 years. So that was the first home that I'd created with my husband and growing family at that point in time was at the Coorong. And it was a different experience because at that time and where it was, there was no phone. There wasn't running water like you expect from a water supply pipeline going past your home. It was whatever you collected from your roof in a rainwater tank. So it was purely rainwater that was caught from the roof. And the hot water service was not an electric one. We had what was called a donkey heater. And I don't know for anyone there whether you would remember what a donkey heater is, even know what a donkey heater is. But it was a 44-gallon drum that was on its side and plumbed to the kitchen sink and the bathroom. I'm pretty sure we had that plumbed to the bathroom as well. And when you needed the hot water, it had the area underneath that you would actually light a fire under it to heat that water up. Now, the drum itself was insulated in a brick surround and that type of thing so that it would last for 2 days where it was hot, but then by the third day it got a bit cool, so you had to fire up the fire again to heat up the donkey heater. That's what it was called, was a donkey heater because it was on its side, and I suppose it looked like a donkey with the pipes going in and out and whatnot. So that was an experience, and it was one of those lessons when you're learning, when you're together as a new couple and you're learning about each other in more depth, because it definitely changes from that boyfriend-girlfriend into husband-wife type of thing. And it was definitely interesting without a phone, and, the more rustic of living style. It was a good experience, and it led then to us owning our own little bit of acreage with a stone house on it that was a little bit better optioned than the than the shack. Well, it wasn't a shack. It started as a shack for them, but they had created it into a home. It was a lovely space. No longer exists anymore because National Parks bought the whole Coorong front. Once all those shack leases came up, they started demolishing them. So that's what happened with that. So that's where I lived when I left my childhood home. Bit of an experience. And now with our later life and reflection. So what do you miss most about the old days? That one is a really interesting question to pose, isn't it? And wow, when you think of I don't feel old but I start to think about the old days. And because at my age now, I have known before computers. I have known when the phones were a party line, and even to the point of not always having electricity supply. When we moved over to Kangaroo Island for a little while, that property that we'd bought there did have electricity. It didn't have running water as far as, pipelines again. It was all self-collected on the farm, and that included dams. It included rainwater tanks again, and it also included dead possums sometimes that fell into the rainwater tank. So you didn't always know what you were drinking. Very interesting lifestyle there. But it was being able to look back and understand how much of what that pre-computer days really was. Look, were they good? Yeah, they were, because you really did need to be making your own entertainment. Sure, there was TV. There was TVs and radios. The different types of music players were just starting to come in for cars. So we did have what used to be called an 8-track deck that my husband had in one of his first cars. I didn't have that type of player in mine. Then it would be I think it was the cassette tapes that was the next thing, and then it progressed to CDs, and even pretty flash if your car had a 6 CD stacker in it. The Camry that I had was a 6 CD stacker, and it was really interesting. So reflecting back on that, what do I miss? I think it's more the slower pace. That when we started getting into computers, it was to be more efficient, to be able to do things faster, and it certainly has created that speed. It certainly created information overload and bringing together so many bits and pieces of information that you sort of can knock yourself out with how much you can learn. And online learning is really good fun. I mean, I'm still doing that. I still have lessons to complete in the Udemy platform and Teachable, and there's some others that I really do need to look up again. But it is a very simple way of doing our learning now, but it has taken away from that. I really do miss that one-to-one interaction where if you wanted to socialise, you did need to go and gather together in a group. So you'd have the different clubs that you'd belong to. For me, in my early years, church was a fairly important part of my life. So doing the parish councils and community involvement there, the lay preaching, and just going to church on Sundays, and some of the offshoots of those, the Sunday stuff did create Bible study groups, Sunday school meetings, those types of things that you'd get together in person and chat and organise, and the collective would be that community of getting together, and especially when it started to be the school times. Because I had 4 kids, that did stretch out over a number of years. So I was the Parents and Friends President for a number of years. I did do a lot of the, sit and help some of the classes with reading and listening to kids read in their earlier years. And then once they were in those older age groups, you know how kids don't want mum being seen around school with you and helping out and that type of stuff. Well, you did it in different ways. I was lucky enough I really enjoyed doing sailing. So I was able to help with the sailing program at the school and be an assistant for that for a number of years as well. So I really loved that. So what is it that you have as your memories of the old days? Not saying that you are old in age yourself, but it is that you feel where there's been a lot of changes, because it certainly has been for what I've seen through my life so far. The technology is the biggest, of course, so it's something that I'm able to bring this to you as a way of doing, getting to do some writing and things like that via sharing ideas that are in this sort of form. And we did use, have we used the charm box? I think we did the other day. Anyway, this is what I'm going to use for the Monday and Thursdays until the cards run out, and we'll progress to gathering some of these questions together and putting them in a format that is going to start to look a little more like a book. All we're doing right at the moment is to bring your thoughts and put them on paper. Okay, so with these questions, as we've got here, as we're moving through them, I'm hoping that it is starting to jog your memory of some of the things that are just like, it's tapping into your memory. It's doing a bit more of what is a brain dump, so that some things, as you're writing them down, you're actually going to have the prodding in the brain for the next thing, that like a sidetrack. Where you get taken off on a different course because you've remembered, and that's what happened then, and then you get to the end of what you're writing down, you sort of think, had a lot happen in that flow of what you've written for, this particular time that you're sitting down for these 3 questions. And so remember to keep them aside so that when we get to the point that we can gather them together and start to combine them in a way that's going to create more of a flowing story for you. And also the way that it can be created into a story, not just notes. Okay? So I'm going to finish it there, a little bit early, yes, but that's quite fine. We don't have to fill up our half hour with just me jabbering away, because, what we've got for today is enough. Work on it whenever you can. You don't have, the way that I do find it's helpful is to actually schedule time in my calendar. I do have regular times that I'll sit down and do a little bit of writing or researching or learning, doing the courses that I'm doing as well, because you never stop learning. And I'm really enjoying moving through with some of these courses that they are about writing, or about the craft of writing, doing the, not English as such, but creating what is a flow for, and this is because I'm working on a fiction novel at the moment, so entirely different to the memoir that I'm learning as well through an in real life group. So that's the one that I'm doing at Galway Community Centre, called Budding Writers. And at the moment, that is, the focus is on memoir for this term. I think it will still be what we focus on for the next term. I'm yet to learn that. I haven't enrolled. So I'll keep you posted about that one. And certainly as I'm learning some of those tips and tricks, I'm passing them on, because the best way to learn is to do and to share. So, you'll be part of that journey with me, and thank you very much for joining in with me as well. The other part too is I am creating a course. I've got it mostly created, but it's like anything. The course itself isn't the main part. It's connecting all of the back end office type stuff to make it available. And that's one section that I think there's been a little change, and I hadn't quite got hold of that understanding. So it's something new in a platform I'm using, and I'm thinking, I've got to get that done too. So a learning process again. But it only needs to take one step at a time. We only need to do one step at a time. And where there's urgency is mainly because start now. Don't leave it too late until it is too late. So I'm working my hardest to get the course progressed, that definitely it's going to start. And I wrote a note here for myself. It's going to be the second week in January, definitely. So even if some of the little minute details may not be completed, we're still going to start. Okay, and share that time together so that we're doing it in a structured way. This is parts and bits and pieces, but the course itself will have some details and structure to be able to allow you to follow through as you want to, or the weekly, as I'm anticipating it will be a weekly step by step in a way. You'll have to join and find out. It is available for purchase on the website. I have got it there, but it's not starting with these types of lessons, of live streaming lessons shared together. I'm not using Zoom. I'm using what is within the Soul Software platform. So be prepared to join in as a community in the course when you do join in with us, start with us. So thank you for watching. Hope to be here. What is today's Thursday? So the next session that I'm going to have will be Sunday evening at the 7:30. That one will be approximately an hour. And I haven't got planned yet what I want to do there, but it's not this same flow. I've decided the Sunday for an hour is going to be something completely different. So we'll see. You might be surprised. You might, oh God, I want to watch that or join in on that. Look, it's all open to whatever choices you make. And the biggest choice that you do need to make is to start writing down your memories now. And these tools that we've got here, just do the 3 questions once more. It is describe your favourite family holidays from your early life. From your midlife, it's where did you live once you left your childhood home. And the later life and reflection is what do you miss most about the old days. All of us do have an old days. So thank you for joining me. And until Sunday, or next Monday and Thursday, we'll see you then. Bye for now.